Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. Please subscribe, guys. It really does help with the algorithm, and a thumbs up never hurts as well. So here we have it now, folks. How likely will it be that XRP can reach $10,000? And so it's 2021, and we are faced with a whole new set of trials and tribulations for XRP. Now, when I first did this video, I talked about it in relation to this Mark Phillips article, and so this was back in February of 2019. As you guys can see here, XRP was designed for $10,000. Now, some people agree with a lot of the statements that Mark Phillips talks about in this article, and others disagree. Again, this was a very different time for XRP. There was no SEC lawsuit going on. And so I thought I'd take it upon myself today to re-examine this concept and see if anything has really changed. Now, we're going to get to that article in a second, but I just thought I'd look up some recent posts here on Quora. How likely will XRP reach $10,000 in the 2021 Bitcoin bull run hype? And there are a lot of people here commenting on this, like Aries Levy down here saying, I love XRP to this day. I'm surprised at how many people fail to see the incredible potential of this token. The sky is truly the limit, but I am 99.9% sure that XRP will not hit $10,000 per coin in 2021. Some other people down here saying right now XRP has been delisted for most exchanges because the centralized entity that runs XRP, or Ripple Labs, is being sued by the SEC. Well, we all know that. James Graham down here saying there's effectively zero chance of this happening. XRP has 100 billion token supply, of which about 45 billion is in circulation. To hit a price of $10,000 per XRP would require a market cap larger than the entire planet's GDP. So some people here examining market cap, some people here examining the realistic factors that, Ripple is still in a lawsuit. But there is still a lot of evidence, and I truly do believe this, that XRP could hit $10,000 per coin. Well, it certainly was created, designed, as Mark Phillips puts it, to at least be able to handle a price of $10,000 per coin. And so I guess without further ado, here's what I talked about back then with regards to this article. So Easy XRP, that's at ERST69, dropped this tweet today linking to a Medium article and the author's Mark Phillips. And Mark Phillips suggests that XRP has the potential to be at a top end of $10,000 per XRP. And he says the evidence is in the design. Now, of course, that sounds amazingly great. And so I want to get into this and read a little bit of this with you guys. When XRP was created, it was designed to be a replacement for both institutional and retail financial systems in every market around the world. How do we know this? An examination of how XRP is constructed makes this evident. A somewhat famous quote from Ripple Labs co-founder Arthur Brito provides a tantalizing clue. In 2017, he wrote, XRP must be scalable to accommodate 7.5 billion people. And guys, I did a video on that a few days ago, that quote. Arthur Brito has essentially stated, not so directly, that XRP should be able to help facilitate the world's transactions. And so Phillips states we'll come back to that quote a little later. Right now, he wants to examine the main features of XRP that support his claim that it was designed to carry a value of $10,000 per XRP. So liquidity and availability. XRP's primary use case is to enable cross-border payments that are faster, cheaper, and more reliable than existing systems such as SWIFT. We know that. So on Ripple's own Insights blog, Shanna Leonard explains how XRP is the only digital asset specifically designed for financial institutions and payment providers, by providing them with a reliable on-demand source of liquidity for cross-border payments. According to Investopedia, liquidity describes the degree to which an asset or security can be quickly bought or sold in the market without affecting the asset's price. Now, I know that'll sound counterintuitive kind of as we go through this, but I'll try to explain it to the best of my ability. What we see in today's market is price volatility as a relatively small number of investors buy and sell XRP on exchanges. So that's what we're seeing currently, right? We don't necessarily have the liquidity that we need at this moment, and so that's why you're seeing, even with small transactions, we're starting to see price rise and decrease very rapidly, and that's kind of been the story of the entire crypto market to date. There just isn't the liquidity. So liquidity for XRP or any crypto comes as the price rises. Higher prices equals higher liquidity. The fact that Ripple Labs locked up, okay, so then it talks about the escrow, the 55% of total in a time-released way has been disciplined in relocking the unsold portion. So again, the escrow is not to screw us out of our millions, guys. The escrow is to mitigate the buying and selling. When this thing scales at max potential, the prices will rise, but we can't see drastic increases and decreases and increases and decreases. The price will rise eventually with the liquidity. And again, the escrow is to help mitigate that. And Ripple is saying, look, we're doing this escrow thing to kind of help that as we kind of move through this process. So in the previous 6 months, XRP's prices range from 25 cents to 60 cents, which represents a 120% range either side of the median. Even though this is a massive movement, it is not problematic for institutional use because XRP's fast 1 to 5 second settlement times. So what is problematic, however, is that the price movement was driven by relatively small retail investment. So again, there was the lack of liquidity, right? To move value on the scale of Swift's $5 trillion of daily transactions requires much more liquidity than is available in today's XRP pool. If some 45 billion XRP are available, this would require a price of approximately $111. We know that some of the XRP supply has been burnt or lost, and much larger percentage is probably locked up as long-term investors hold XRP, such as you and I, guys. Thus, an even smaller supply of XRP requires an even higher price to provide the minimum liquidity to accommodate SWIFT. So right now, because of the lack of liquidity, XRP cannot facilitate these transactions, and this is why they are setting up liquidity pools around the globe. They're partnering with Coins.ph, BitSo, BITRUE, so on and so forth. And they're continuing to partner with even more liquidity providers to be able to have these liquidity pools placed around the globe in order for this to happen. So this problem compounds when XRP's use cases are factored in. So this is not even to mention all the spring initiatives that are going to happen. So all these things will drive demand for liquidity. Fortunately, this added demand will also drive the price, which will provide the liquidity. So in fact, this creates a virtuous circle in which demand increases price, which increases liquidity and demand. So the fact that there isn't a lot of liquidity means that the market will be volatile in that XRP will command a higher price because there just isn't enough of it at a certain price. Let's say somebody wants to buy 1,000, but only one person is selling 10, and then the next person is selling 20, and the next person is selling 30. As the price moves up, then the price will shoot up drastically. The same will happen when one sells XRP. But in a world where there will be so much demand for XRP, we need to have the liquidity, even just to be able to maintain a sufficiently high enough price for companies to be able to transact efficiently and effectively amongst each other. So how high can this go? If the entire 1.14 trillion value of all asset classes was tokenized via XRP, that would require at least 11,400 per XRP. Okay, this isn't likely to happen, but it demonstrates the scale of liquidity that XRP is designed to handle. So all value asset classes valued at 1.14 trillion. Let's say in 10 years, everything becomes tokenized. Everybody's on the XRP train. We could possibly see an XRP at 11,000 theoretically. But what about the other end? So divisibility. In his briefish history of XRP, James Hunt noted that there is a max supply of 100 billion XRP being divisible by 6 decimal places, meaning that the smallest unit, one drop, is 1/1,000,000th of 1 XRP. Why would XRP designers make the token so divisible? At a value of 31 cents, this is absurd, of course, right? After all, who could possibly require the use of 1/1,000,000th of 31 cents? But at a much higher token value, and this is the thing, when XRP was created, and the same with Bitcoin, okay? Bitcoin divisibility, I'm just going to talk about this for a second here. Bitcoin divisibility, this is why some refer to infinite divisibility, because we can select the level that we need as time goes on. So this is for Bitcoin. The current level selected is the code by Satoshi, and that is at 8 decimal places. So 1 Bitcoin can be divisible by 8 decimal places. So 0.000000001 BTC is 1 Satoshi. That is the smallest possible unit, and that is embedded directly in the code. What they are saying, though, is that Bitcoin is theoretically infinite in its divisibility. And I'm not a big coder or anything like that, but I'm sure that has to do with the code and changes that would need to occur with the code. But getting back to XRP here, the fact that they have made XRP divisible to 5 decimal spots just goes to show you that it is meant to be used as a token of high value in order to facilitate these transactions. We got to remember, guys, XRP was designed out of Bitcoin's failures. We saw how Bitcoin failed over the years, and now the masterminds behind XRP are creating a token, or have rather created a token that has fixed all those mistakes. So they have made it divisible by 5 decimal spots, and Mark Phillips describes this here, but at a much higher token value, say $10,000 per XRP, that divisibility makes sense for 2 reasons: low transaction costs and affordability for small retail use. And as we know, XRP is touted as being a solution for the unbanked, also for micropayments. Not to mention all the other use cases that it can handle. So low transaction costs. The XRP Ledger Dev Portal notes that the minimum transaction cost required by the network for a standard transaction is 0.00001 XRP, so that's 10 drops. It sometimes increases due to higher than usual load. So even at a $10,000 XRP value, the transaction cost still would only be approximately 10 cents US. So affordability, 1 cent, is arguably the smallest denomination that would be necessary to use XRP as a means of transacting everyday retail exchanges, even in developing markets where much of the population is unbanked. This could provide affordable access, and so I talked a little bit about the unbanked here. And then it talks a little bit about who's unbanked, in what countries. Guys, I'll link this article in the description if you want to read the whole thing. And then he finally gets back to Arthur Britto's statement that the XRP ledger needs to be able to scale to serve 7.5 billion people and even more devices. A new account mechanism that should allow the XRP ledger to efficiently service humanity scale usage is in development. This would allow everyone to have an account on the XRP ledger for low cost while providing the necessary performance for humanity level service. I expect most users of XRP will use hosted accounts for their day-to-day needs, holding small amounts of XRP, placing orders, and making payments. So this is his prediction here. The design decisions that went into creating XRP's structure lead me to believe that it was designed to operate at a $10,000 per XRP price to serve a truly global market. And so, guys, this isn't happening tomorrow, by the way. Mark Phillips is just kind of giving his input on once XRP is in the eyes and minds of the world, once everybody realizes that it is the better way to go, it is already structured. There doesn't need to be any retooling. It is already structured to be a $10,000 per XRP price and still be able to function properly. So that was part of the problem with Bitcoin and with the proof of work. As the price rose of Bitcoin, it wasn't efficient to make transactions. Also, it took way too long. XRP has already solved these problems. So the obvious question that any XRP holder will ask now is, will it get that high? Of course, that's what we're all thinking, right? I sure hope so, but there are no guarantees. If it happens, I don't think it will be in the next 5 years, and that's exactly what I think too. To see a $10,000 XRP, we could see one down the road. You know, it took Bitcoin to get this far, and we're only just getting started with this cryptocurrency revolution. A lot of us don't want to believe that $10,000 per coin is possible because we're only looking at it in this narrow perspective of what our market conditions are today. The value of our dollar, because of inflation, has gone down and 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 down over the years. And this is just a chart kind of demonstrating where our dollar was in. So it compares $100. So in 1915, if you had $100, it would be worth $100. It kind of took a baseline from 100 years ago. This article was written in 2015, and I guess the author just kept updating it. But 100 years later, that $100 would be worth $2,324. No, that's not considering interest, guys. This isn't an interest chart or an interest calculator. That is just because of inflation. And because of inflation, our money is worth less. I know on this chart it looks like it's worth more, but think of it this way. If you could buy something in 1915 that was worth $100, you could buy the same thing today, the exact same item, for $2,300, or rather $2,487 today in 2019. The point I'm trying to make here is that inflation exists and it is devaluing your money every year. So in 30 years, in 40 years, how much is your dollar going to be worth? And so fiat money's worth is based on what your government says it's worth. So we have to remember, after almost 2 years of a pandemic situation, the economy has just gotten worse and worse and worse. I saw this article here from University of Rochester, why the pandemic economy's higher inflation rate could be, or is, as they say it, a short-term blip. So this article, they are arguing that, we are seeing inflation, and I know I talked a little bit about inflation in that clip that you guys just saw, but that inflation is just really going to be a short-term blip. They talk about the 70s and 80s in this article, saying that we really didn't see too much inflation. So when the inflation rate, which has remained under 3% for a decade, nearly doubled from March to May of this year and continued to climb in June, it seemed reasonable to ask, will rising prices spin out of control again? And so University of Rochester economics professor Narayana Kochar-Lakota, a former president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, says it's very unlikely. The increase in inflation is a short-term blip. The Lionel W. McKenzie professor of economics said he attributes the blip to pent-up demand and a rise in hiring following the year-long beer flu slowdown in production. He adds it's a small price to pay for the fact that we're providing more employment to so many more people. So overall, this is speaking to the fact that perhaps inflation is not here to stay. However, we have differing opinions on this, and this is actually saying that inflation is higher than the numbers actually say. While government statistics say inflation is low, the reality is the cost of living has risen during the pandemic, especially for poorer Americans. The latest inflation statistics say prices have risen by only 1% over the last year. And so this was from 2020, but it was updated back in May of 2021. But there's something wrong with those numbers because the pandemic has made economic life more expensive in ways the original bean counters aren't capturing. So they are talking about a distortion in the numbers, and that because of all the printing, and because of certain factors that we're not always paying attention to, that the numbers, the inflation rate, could actually be higher, and therefore money actually being worth less in 2021 than it was even in 2020, than it was in 2019, of course, before the pandemic. So this idea, right, if you're comparing XRP to the US dollar, a $10,000 XRP is way more likely if inflation really tends to creep up and if it continues moving forward. This is also not considering, guys, the fact that we are moving into a new financial structure, a new financial framework. So who knows what the dollar will be valued at? We are at the mercy of the powers that be. Another thing I wanted to mention to you guys that I saw on Twitter, this from Market Watch, these quality dividend stocks have built-in advantages that keep you ahead of inflation in 2022. So they're already giving you guys some advice as to what types of stocks one should choose to perhaps hedge against a little bit of this inflation. It's no surprise, guys. The economy is not doing well, and I think inflation is inevitable, and it is only going to get worse. I do not actually agree with this paper here written by that University of Rochester professor who used to work at the Federal Reserve. So these are all things to be paying attention to. So can and will XRP reach $10,000? Well, in this next clip, I'm going to outline some reasons why it eventually kind of needs to. First, I have this: why XRP has to command a high enough price. And I have Haas Capitals here because the argument I'm trying to make is that XRP has to be a high price because too many XRP will be needed otherwise to source the liquidity for the transfer of value in the world economy. So we have food, beverage, and feed export industry only in the US alone. Okay, guys, I'm getting a bit excited because I want to just point this out that this is just this is just the export industry alone in the US alone. And we're talking about $133 billion. So let's put that in here. And if we divide that by 52 weeks, let's just say, and I'm using this as a sample, okay? This is all the food, beverage, and feed industry in the United States, and this is just the exports. This doesn't even have to do with imports. This doesn't have to do with other countries' food and beverage industries. This is just one country, the US, and exports alone. So if we look at 52 weeks in a year, how much is that per week in exports alone from all the companies that export food, beverage, and feed in the United States? That comes out to about $2,557,692,307 per week in exports. So that's a large number. If XRP were at 22 cents to settle a weekly payment, now I know this is happening throughout the year and this is through all the companies and they might do business on different days. I'm just giving you guys a sense of a per week on average. This is how much XRP would need in order just to settle the exports alone just for the United States. Okay, so if XRP were at 22 cents to settle a weekly payment, the industry would have to source, guess how much XRP, guys? 11,625,874,122 XRP. Now that's a lot of XRP. You got to think this is why Ripple wants the markets to be liquid, because to take 11.6 billion XRP from the current market and use that to transfer value, guys, let's not forget the market cap of XRP right now is only 44.8 billion. Okay, that's the circulating supply, and you and I are holding some of that. So if XRP were fetching a price of 22 cents, 1/4 of the current circulating supply would be needed in order to facilitate these payments in a 52-week period just for the food, beverage, and feed export industry in the United States alone. But if XRP were at $10,000 to settle a weekly payment, the industry would have to source only 255,769 XRP, a number way more manageable for the same type of transaction weekly. So you got to understand, the number needs to be high for Ripple to target these payments, because they will need a heck of a lot less of it in order to settle the same types of payments. And so this is why, David Schwartz goes on about it, Brad Garlinghouse goes on about it, liquidity, liquidity, liquidity. The market has to be liquid in order for us to be able to target these high value payments. Another thing I wanted to mention, and we do not have the statistics right now for 2021, as 2021 has not completed yet. 2020 was the best year for Ripple, and this was coming from Brad Garlinghouse here in a tweet. What Brad said was back in early 2021, January 25th, so this was even after the lawsuit was brought to their attention, 2020 was a banner year for Ripple despite a disappointing ending relating to U.S. regulation. Understatement, he puts in parentheses, we processed millions of RippleNet transactions, grew ODL 12x year on year, and signed 50 new customers after the SEC complaint. And so, just to that point there, I have a list up here, and I'll link this in the description if you guys are interested. It was created about 4 years ago, but these are just all the Ripple partnerships in one list that you guys can see. I don't even know how up to date this is, because this was originally posted in 2017. I think it's actually even quite likely that Ripple has more partnerships than this today. So even back then, we were seeing a multitude of Ripple partnerships. And in 2021, as I keep reiterating day upon day when I do my videos, Ripple is just getting bigger and bigger. And not only that, Ripple partners are partnering with other companies in order to keep that ideology of future sustainability for XRP, which means the more XRP that is used, guys, the higher the price will go, which also means to me that eventually it could possibly see $10,000 per coin. Let's also not forget what David Schwartz has continuously said over the years. Just going to take you back to that clip real quick. So guys, let's remember David Schwartz also brings this up. This from September 2017. It seems like a lifetime ago. The most obvious benefit to Ripple of an increased price for XRP is that it increases the value of Ripple's XRP. This means that Ripple has a greater ability to incentivize partners and liquidity. Indirectly, more value almost always means more liquidity and trade volume. XRP already has each of the other characteristics needed to be a good intermediary asset, but it will be initially limited by the available liquidity. So again, liquidity is key. In order for these markets to be liquid, XRP essentially needs to be at a high enough price for these big players to target the kind of payments that they usually transact in. David Schwartz also brings up a good point. When Bitcoin sold for $1, you couldn't really use them to buy or sell a house. Now you can. Bigger transactions require bigger value. The higher the price of XRP, the larger the payments Ripple can target. When you're expecting exponential growth, even a small increase in your starting point can pay huge dividends down the line. Okay, this directly from the CTO of Ripple, David Schwartz, the man who helped create XRP. And so guys, remember this. How much volume goes through SWIFT? According to the US Treasury, SWIFT handles about $5 trillion per day, or given about 250 business days per year, about $1.25 quadrillion a year. So the daily volume going through SWIFT right now is upwards of $5 trillion, guys. And that just reminded me of this Bearable Guy clue from back in May of 2019. I don't know if you guys remember this one. He had this video that he sent to us that was it ended up being a Morse code thing where we had to kind of figure out what that tiny URL was. And eventually the tiny URL brought us to this link here, tinyurl.com/spotted2019. And you know where that brought us, guys? this here. This was the first time any of us in this space really kind of got to see the scope of where Ripple was going. This was a live feed from that infamous conference where we saw Brad Garlinghouse, remember that? Meet up with all these big players in the payment space, like the chairman of Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, the chief executive of Hong Kong Monetary Authority here on this panel, the director of markets for the IMF. We got Christine Lagarde here in the foreground. Augustin Karstens here to the side. I believe at that point, Bearable Guy also mentioned that the king has made an appearance. And everybody was going nuts. We knew exactly what he was talking about. Brad Garlinghouse was the only person from a cryptocurrency company that was invited to this seminar. Here's another photograph of them from the World of Payments and Currencies conference from back in 2019. Brad Garlinghouse over here on the side with a bunch of heavy hitters in the global payment space. Guys, this spans far beyond the United States of America. This is worldwide, and this was the first inclination that I think a lot of us had, that XRP was going to be bigger, I think, than some of us could have even imagined. So is $10,000 per XRP feasible? It will not happen today or tomorrow, or maybe even by the end of 2021. But I am eyeing 2022 because now that we are seeing everything change, the new financial structure, a pandemic that has changed the landscape for everything. The Ripple XRP case, pretty close to being settled. I think we take our profits from this bull run, but never sell all your XRP, guys, because a $10,000 coin is not only possible, I think it's definitely in the cards that XRP could go to 10K in the coming years. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.